Wow. All right. We're going to some fancy setups here, guys. We went from just my phone in the car to a microphone, a headset. Wow. Your girl's stepping up in the world, making moves. Just kidding. What's up, guys? Welcome back. I have no idea which video this is going to be, but welcome back to the channel. I hope you are enjoying yourselves here so far. Life has been crazy. I moved from Texas to Helena, Montana. And wow, let's talk about culture shock. Now, I grew up in a small town, and I would say my hometown was a little bit behind the times. I think my best example would be I didn't know what Chick-fil-A was until I got to college. I went to college in 2016, by the way, so don't come for me. But yeah, so didn't know what Chick-fil-A was till I got to college. We didn't have a Starbucks in my hometown until probably my sophomore year of college. I found out we were getting a Starbucks. It was a real big deal when we got a Chipotle. I think it was Chipotle and Starbucks at the same time. For any of my East Coasters, y'all know what Sheetz is. That's where we vibed. We vibed at Sheetz, and honestly, I wish I had Wawa closer to me because Wawa has my heart. I would put it this way for anyone who doesn't know. Wawa equals Target, Sheetz equals Walmart. Same stuff, but, Target's a little nicer. A little bit better quality sometimes. But then sometimes the price is a little bit too high, Pick your battles. So yeah, I packed up my car, a trailer, and my dog and drove. First stop was Colorado, and then I was going to stop in Billings, and then I decided, screw it, why not a second 10-hour day? I am definitely not a fan of driving that long by myself. And then I also came across 55 plus mile per hour crosswinds, which was interesting to say the least. But shout out to crime documentary podcast, Crime Junkie. She's got my heart. I think I appreciate it because it's unsolved cases and she's doing a lot of really good justice for the world. Some of them are solved, but typically it's an unsolved case. And, she's trying to do her own deep dive and figure out if there's anything that can help now just to give people peace of mind for what they didn't have. Sometimes, some of these cases were 40 years old. 4 decades of not knowing what happened to someone. I was listening to another podcast, and I want to say it was the serial killer or something. I kind of had to stop because I was freaking myself out. And sometimes I was driving on back roads late at night. But those ones were solved, but it was still it was creepy. I recommend, but also, know your limits because I'm definitely easily scared and paranoid. So if you're like me, maybe we don't always listen to those. Other than that, I actually started trying to listen to some audiobooks. Shout out to Spotify for having those on there. There is a book that I would potentially like to get in person. I'll listen to an audiobook if I need to, but I am currently of the fairy Akotar style. Any of my girls out there that understand, and boys who understand, you understand. Sometimes I just don't want another person's voice reading that. I want to just have my own voice inside my head. And they kind of portray the characters with different voices than maybe I would expect and just different stuff. It's cool if I don't have the ability to read. But then I also get distracted too. Sometimes I'm just in my own thoughts and then I get back to it. I'm like, fuck, I don't know how we got to where we got to, but something's happening and I don't know what. Before I go super tangent here and go way off course like I kind of was there. I just wanted to come back, talk about my travels. Tips for that. I'm definitely a snack packer. I like to have snacks on the road and I don't like to make a lot of stops. Even with the dog, he can last 4 to 5 hours plus without going to the bathroom. So it was usually whenever we needed to stop to fill up. And your girl did pull where she had 2 miles left in the tank at one point on some sketchy back roads, but we made it. So don't recommend that part. Monster Java energy drinks are the one thing to get me through. I definitely want to see some comments below of like, what's your go-to road trip snack and drink, especially if it's like a late night drive. So that's kind of where I'm at there. And then another thing I wanted to talk about was I've been reading the 5 Elements book. My counselor recommended this for me, so I am definitely an Australian. No, an astrology girly. If you can see my little Aries, okay? March Aries to be specific. Nothing against April Aries completely. Definitely things against male Aries. But I do believe in the astrological signs, and no, I'm not like hardcore into it. And I would say that also because I don't have enough of an understanding to be, but I definitely think there are greater forces involved in how we become who we become. It is definitely a nature versus nurture, and I believe astrological signs are a part of the nature, an innate being. And this honestly, if you're somebody who isn't into astrology, and if you are, fantastic read for this, but if you aren't, I think this is something that the more skeptical, logical style thinkers will resonate with. Now, it is based on like Chinese medicine and stuff like that, but again, your girl is into those kind of things. I really feel like this book helps hone into your sense of self. I've been on a personal healing, oh my gosh, what's it called? Like a find yourself journey. Pretty much since I left, even in college, but especially since I left college. And I've made a lot of growth and progress and healing and all of the above for sure. But I was working with internal family systems with my counselor and having trouble with that. So she thought about this book, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely interested. And I 10 out of 10 recommend it. I think one, if you work with people, and just if you feel like you could use a better balance inside your relationships, I think any advantage to understanding people is just an advantage to life, because whether it's a stranger on the street or your best friend of so many years, truly accepting another person with almost like unconditional welcome is very challenging. If we judge people completely off the bat and don't give them a chance, you may miss out on some cool experiences. Watch your back, be careful, do those things. I get it. This book can be really helpful in understanding why people are the way they are and why they do what they do and how we are different and similar. Because at the end of the day, even in this book, you have people who can be primarily one element, or they can be primarily 3 elements, and have secondary elements. And then you have different times of the year where elements affect you, because that's when the elements in the wheel are at their highest. And so depending on how much of that element you have inside of you in like the primary or secondary case, you're probably going to be affected more. But then just on top of that, you know, you're going to understand yourself better, and accepting and understanding yourself is definitely the best first step. But then accepting and understanding others will just help you move through the world without so much friction and restriction. I mean, and it's okay to be on different wavelengths from other people and just not resonate with them. That's okay. Like the biggest example in here would be fire and waters are very different people. Wood and fires are very different people. But without all those differences, we would just be one melting pot of bleh. Not even a melting pot. We would just be a pot of bleh. I don't want bleh. But the author really structured this in a fantastic way, and it just made a lot of sense. And she made it so simplified, easy to understand, and her examples are beautiful. And it's just a relatively easy read. I think if I had to give one critique or dislike, because that's really all I have, would be the rating systems. It's a scale of like not likely to very likely, and then 3 is sometimes. And there's certain questions that go inside of the each element has a questionnaire at the end to see what score you get, so you know, is it a primary, a secondary, or even a tertiary element. And there's some questions in there that I just don't feel like match up with that scaling system. Another recommendation I probably think would be a good idea is, my mom used to always do this when I was first applying to different jobs or try to figure out what I wanted to do with my life career wise. Because, we make those decisions at 18 in the US, the personality quizzes, but she would ask the questions because sometimes I'd be like, oh, I think it's this. And she would look at me like, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, it's definitely like this number. Because in some ways other people know your tendencies a little bit more because they see them from a subjective point of view, compared to your own objective point of view. So I think that would be a really good option. But for me, I think it really helped me accept and embrace myself. I found that I'm a wood for sure. Like, that's my primary, my first of my three primaries. I have wood, water, and earth in that order. And I think it all makes the perfect amount of sense because I am kind of really strict and structured, but then I'm also super laid back and can be content just kind of being creative and flowing and going slow. I haven't always given myself that, and that's something I've learned as of late, like in the last 2 to 3 months, that I really do enjoy slowness and stillness, and the rushing around, hustling through life is just not for me. I have a really big drive to be successful, and I know I'm going to be successful in life, but I just don't believe that I have to grind and kind of suffer to get there. Or sometimes there's going to be a struggle, and there's going to be times and periods of life that are not as happy or joyful or amazing as others. But I mean, there's times where I was working myself to the bone and I didn't realize how much it was affecting me until I took a step back from that kind of life. And it's not something that I want to go back to. Don't get me wrong, your girl will always do what she has to do to make sure she can survive, but I will also do my best to not have to do those things just because I really, really don't enjoy it. Perfect example, I moved up here. I was like, I'll just get a bartending job. Like, service industry is my go-to. But I really just don't resonate with staying up till midnight or 1 a.m. anymore. I would much rather wake up early in the morning, have my day, and be home at 7 or 8 at the latest and have at least like an hour or two to want to wind down. And that's just not what I was going to get there. And I, like, 3 days in of training, and I just, like, my soul felt tired. Now, don't get me wrong. I was also just really tired because it was a complete 180 from what I was doing with training, of waking up early and stuff. And I got so used to that schedule that I was still doing it even though I'm not training right now. But yeah, I highly recommend the book to not only have a better understanding and acceptance of yourself, but to help do so with others. I mean, I've butt heads with people in my life, or when you just come across somebody and you're like, I'm not like them. And that's okay because they're not like you either. And that's what makes you guys, all of us, just such amazing individuals. Peace out, y'all. I will catch you in the next video.